Well, it's great to see you as well. It's an exciting time, and glad to see that people are finding more money in their pockets.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, doesn't that tell you a lot about President Trump, a billionaire who actually listened during the campaign to a waitress in Las Vegas? I think he said it was at the Cheesecake Factory, if my memory's right, back in the 24 campaign. He said, you know, to his staff, listen to this lady like a real American. And now no tax on tips is something you and your Republican colleagues voted for. Every Democrat voted against it. And we hear 53 million people, Americans, have benefited either from no tax on tips or overtime or Social Security. What does that mean for your constituents? What does it mean for the midterms?
Well, I think it's a great question. And the most fundamental question I think we answered is, isn't it great we actually campaign and govern with the same mindset?
Yeah.
You saw the exact opposite happening in places like Virginia right now. We campaign no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a $6,000 deduction for everybody who's earned Social Security, keeping money in their pockets so they can meet the needs that they have, as opposed to setting it up here in Washington, D.C. It's a real game changer, and it helps folks out after being crushed by high inflation and during the Biden years that got over 9%. And so, again, we like keeping our promises. And I know we're in a tough spot with gas prices a bit short term, but this has been a real game changer for people. And President Trump has really listened, as has, of course, our Congress.
Absolutely. Talk about the pivot for the president. I mean, are you confident now? He had said a couple of weeks ago on Truth Social and then in various public comments that he was going to be sort of pivoting out, winding down, I think was the phrase he said, military operations in Iran. Obviously, there's a ceasefire right now, but it's always on a knife's edge as to whether Iran's going to break that. We see what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, a brilliant move by the president to issue that blockade and implement it, which is really helping American energy. Do you think this trip to Nevada tonight and then Arizona tomorrow with Turning Point USA, where he's going to really try to rally the young voters who were part of his big coalition in 2024. Is this a pivot away from the war, back to the economy, and get that eye on the midterms? What do you think about the Republicans' prospects?
Well, look, I'm more bullish than most. I mean, as you and I just talked about, isn't it nice we actually keep our campaign promises? Another campaign promise we made, of course, was we would secure the border. We've done exactly that. We're rounding up all these bad guys, despite places like Minnesota would turn their back on their own citizens. And yeah, we've got a little blip right now with gas prices, but this is the hypocrisy of the media, as you know better than I had, where remember when Barack Obama or Joe Biden was president, they got oil prices as high as $150 a barrel adjusted for inflation. I mean, that's a heck of a lot more than we are today. And they didn't say peep about it. And the other thing that again, I would just have to add is, remember, had we done nothing last year, there would have been a 22% tax increase. We would have reverted back to the old Obama tax rates. That's why the president is doing this. He is saying, look what we've done. Don't let the media fool you. We're putting more money back in your pockets. And look at all these dollars being invested from overseas because they see the American market as the place to be.
Absolutely. You can see the live look at the bottom of the screen in Las Vegas when the president starts talking. We'll go there. But I also want to take a live look at Houston, Texas tonight, Congressman, because you're on the Space Coast there in Florida. Houston is the scene for Johnson Space Center, and these Artemis II astronauts held their first news conference today, as you know, since coming home triumphantly last Friday night. Let's listen to what they had to say, and then I want to talk about your pride in what NASA's doing right now. Let's listen.
You say what you guys did, what the four of you did, and we just don't not see it that way. We should be rewording that question to what we did. That's what this was. We just went up and did what we were going to do. All we saw was a camera. We didn't have that connection with you. We lost that connection with Earth by and large. And so we just leaned into what we had. We leaned into each other and mission control, which is really all we had in our families a couple times. But we did that because we had been lifted up and supported to just go up there and be ourselves and just do our job. And we went into it thinking, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough. It seems like it was good enough.
You know, I think a lot of people connected with them as they talked about their faith. They talked about their pride, this mission. There's talk now that the president may be pushing to land some astronauts on the moon in 2028 before he leaves office. Talk about the big picture here, because I think everyone's very excited about this.
Well, we have every right to be excited. Wasn't it great to see all of America coming together and celebrate these American heroes? And these guys are almost out of central casting. I mean, they're just good people. They've worked hard to earn these spots as astronauts, and they've really conducted a perfect mission, all we could hope for. And it just shows that when Americans come together, anything is possible. And we're making great strides in the space industry. As you know, I'm the chairman of that committee. We're seeing not just NASA, but public-private partnerships with companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, let alone the big boys like Boeing and Elf and Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin. And this is American technology that's best. And we're going to win this space race back to the moon, not just to land on the moon, but we're going to establish a moon base so that China does not. And we're going to have the ability to create that moon base for not only technological innovation, but to make sure we have the ultimate high ground, because this is a national security issue as well. Just a thrill seeing them take off from my district, land, of course, in the Pacific Ocean. I even had the chance to talk to them the night before they landed when they're circling in the Orion capsule. But spectacular success, and it's just a testament to the president, because remember, he's the one who created the Space Force, and he's brought this dynamic new leader, Jared Isaacman, to lead NASA to the next level. And I think they're going to achieve greatness because America can do anything when we're together.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember the left laughed at President Trump when he created Space Force in the first term. He seemed to be ahead of the curve. Real quick, before I get to my final question, what were the astronauts telling you the night before? That's pretty exciting to talk to them. Were they nervous? Were they?
It really was. I that. I mean, this is a thrill. I mean, a lot of young folks just don't realize how incredible what they're doing and how precise they were. But what I asked them was, remember, they went around the dark side of the moon, just like the Pink Floyd song. And I asked the astronauts, what were you thinking? And it was almost like, they got really in touch with their faith. And each of these astronauts talked about how they came closer. Remember, they were farther than any astronauts ever gone before. For over 30 minutes, they were out of contact with the rest of the world. And it was just an enlightening opportunity. And just to see the moon up close with the modern technology is spectacular, right? And you can't help but get patriotic or excited. I don't know what the best term is, but as you can tell by my voice, I couldn't be more thrilled. And to meet these astronauts as I did a few months, they are just the cream of the crop, and we're going to do even bigger and better things just a few years from now. And as you put it best, Ed, 2 years from now, we're going to be landing on the moon again and doing all these great things.
I love it. Live look at the Space Coast right now. So that leads me to the final question. We've been asking every member of Congress we talk to, because we're putting together a special for this summer for America 250. What's so special about your district? What makes you proud to be an American? As I look at those live pictures of the Space Coast, I think I know at least part of your answer. Tell us about your district. Tell us about the fine folks there.
Well, I'm really blessed. It's an area that I've lived in for over 30 years. We raised our family right there on what you call the Space Coast, and I border right there, as you can see, the Atlantic Ocean, and we're the place where you literally reach for the stars. It's where all those Apollo rockets went off and landed on the moon for the first time since 1969. And then the southern part of my district is Vero Beach, where baseball spring training really got its apex, and the Dodgers were there. And now it's an incredible retirement community, a lot of dynamic things. But we are the place where they build rockets, and we're also absolutely vital in the issue of building the Golden Dome. Companies like L3 Harris and others making sure that, God forbid, some of our adversaries get some type of weapon, we can have the defense necessary to protect citizens. It's just a thrill to live there. You can't beat it when you have the surfing capital of the world, Ron John Surf Shop, the greatest surfer ever lived, grew up in Cocoa Beach. And I'm just blessed to represent a wonderful community, and my wife and I take great pride in living there. And the only thing we miss, of course, is being in Washington, is being back at home with our friends.
Oh, I love it. I'm going through all that history. Vero Beach, I wrote a book on Jackie Robinson. April 15th was Jackie Robinson Day. He had spring training there in Vero Beach with all those Dodger greats, and they broke everyone's heart and went out to Los Angeles and left Brooklyn, and they left Vero Beach. But I love visiting. I've driven through there recently. Boy, your district is really special. I was there when John Glenn, I was covering the U.S. Senate, and Senator Ted Stevens, Senator Ted Kennedy was still alive, took me on a jet with a lot of senators on a delegation to see John Glenn. Remember that when he went back in space? And some people thought it is
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, they thought at his age he might not be able to handle it. And John Glenn did it safely. Your final thought.
Well, I'm just saying, again, that just shows what Americans can do. And remember, it's not just those astronauts. It's the incredible people at NASA who put all this precision equipment together. They've learned a lot from the private sector and SpaceX and Blue Origin and vice versa. A phenomenal scenario. And these are the best and the brightest. And we're seeing so many new jobs and opportunities being created there. So